It's me, Stephanie, and we're back. Sanctioned by Stephanie is back. I didn't die. I'm alive and well, and everybody is thriving. And we are starting a new season. This is going into our fifth season, according to Ben, who's not with us today. He was like, he's the keeper of all the information when it comes to that stuff, and I'm just the one that comes and talks on a microphone. Okay. So anyway, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. And today I have with me my friend. She has been a showrunner. She is a comedian. She is a dancer. She is the person who's probably going to teach me Spanish. Give it up for Ofelia. Okay, and I wanted to say hi, everybody.
Hola, everybody.
Hola. So Ofelia, am I saying it wrong? I'm saying it wrong. Ofeliza. And I'm so white that it's going to come off wrong. So I'm sorry. I'm like Ophelia. I say Ophelia like what is that? The Shakespeare.
Yeah. But that's PH, and there's not a PH in Spanish.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Stephanie, and I spell it with an F, like it's the Greek way. But I think my mom just copied Stephanie Powers from Heart to Heart back in the 70s. Okay. There was a TV show, and she was the 37th most popular actress in America. On television. But
now you're the 37th greatest comedian in the state.
Right. No. I drop down now. It's like after hearing what everybody thinks of you, you're like, oh shit.
I give a fuck what they think.
And I'm starting not to. I mean, like, thank God for meds, thank God for therapy. Like, it's like, oh, I don't have to care.
No, you don't.
You don't have to care. But when you're a mom, sometimes it's like you feel like you have to care about everything. You don't. But you are okay. First of all, she's doing something that I don't think anybody's ever done before.
No.
Like an entirely Spanish-speaking open mic.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's called Jaja Jueves for Jaja Thursdays. And it is the first. I don't want to say, like, I don't know about the statewide, but in Detroit it is. Yeah. It is the first Spanish open mic on Thursdays, and I did it this last Thursday on the 17th. And it's great. Yeah. I always tell people I feel like I'm funnier in Spanish because I have jokes in Spanish that can't translate to English.
Exactly.
So I was so excited to finally be able to say some of these jokes after so long. Yeah. And they were great. Okay, so like, so it's not just like the typical like just people trying out too, or? So, well, I want to tell you how it happened. I thought it was a joke because I had 3 different people send me a napkin picture of someone who said they were looking for comedians in Spanish, and I was like, that's sketchy as fuck. Like, I have a napkin right in one of these centers in Southwest, and when the 3rd person sent it to me, I was like, all right, let me see who this person is or what they're looking for. And there's some people from Mexico, but who are here, they're engineers and they're working, and they've been looking for comedy stuff because in Mexico it's popular. Like, there's comedy scenes in Mexico that are really big too. Yeah. And so I had wanted to do this a while back, but I wasn't getting the support from like local businesses. Yeah. Like, to do it, to find space to do it. And so I found someone, or I already knew this person, but I forgot that they had this location. And I was like, hey, I want to try to do this open mic. I was like, people have been asking me for it. And like, not even just the open mic, but I've had people who've asked me, when am I going to do a Spanish show? Because I have followers, you know, in both languages. Yeah. So I was like, well, fuck it. And then we did it, and it was really good. Really good.
Are you doing it every week?
So it's going to be every 2 weeks.
That's
every
perfect.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Twice a month to see how it goes.
Yeah.
The first one, it was good. I had a good turnout. Everybody enjoyed it. So hopefully the next one will be May 1st. So like kicking off Cinco de Mayo weekend.
Hell yeah.
Type of thing.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. And it's difficult because there's no one that does comedy in Spanish. Or I get it. So like in Southwest Detroit, like Detroit's really talented, especially Southwest people. We have a lot of musicians, a lot of dancers and stuff. no one's really doing comedy.
No.
So until like, haha, here I am.
Well, it's kind of funny because like a lot of showrunners like that I've met over the years that are like out of state and things like that. I had one hit me up in Ohio one time, and the only Hispanic person that did comedy that he knew of was Johanna, and he had already just hired her. And so he was like, do you know any other Hispanic comedians? And this was like 3 years ago, I think. It was a while back, but I was like, yeah, you know, and it took me a minute, and I remembered like 2 or 3 names, but I'm like, it was just 2 or 3 names. Yeah. And I'm like, that really sucks, you know? And then you feel like maybe the language barrier, I mean, like if you don't really speak English or do your comedy in English, you ain't going a new way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not going to go up there and just bomb because, and have a language barrier. You know what I mean? So I think what you're doing is amazing because the fact of the matter is that like, you know, culturally speaking, the world is like, our world is such a melting pot. This area is such a melting pot. Sure. I mean, like, and if we don't have, I mean, there's a space for everything. If we don't have something like this, we need to have something like this.
Yeah, and I was even thinking about later on, like how it could branch off. Like, you know, like they could do Arabic open mics and Dearborn and shit like that. Sure. And, like, and it's something that's needed because, like, especially like in the Latino world, like we're funny as fuck, and like there's a lot of good comedians, a lot of stuff, and like I feel that everybody needs to laugh.
I mean, if the January 6th boys have a couple different mics on the east side, then I think that we should be accommodating for all. Right. So
that's funny.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. The east side guys aren't all racist. Right. That's funny. Just the women. All right. So. Anyway, so tell me about yourself. So, are you from Mexico? Where are you from?
No, so I was born over here. I was actually born in Wyandotte.
Okay.
My parents are from Mexico, so we're
I knew you had that Southwest raised.
Yeah. So, I'm the youngest of 4. I'm a Mexican family, but there's a big gap between my older brothers and I. So they grew up more in Detroit than I did.
Okay.
So until I was 5, then we moved to Dearborn Heights, and so I grew up in an all-white school district. But we would always go back to Southwest because church was in Southwest. Yeah. My dad's family was in Southwest. You know, the food, the groceries, we had to go back to Southwest.
Oh, we were at,
I was in catechism. I was doing dance and everything. Regardless of like me going to school in Dearborn Heights, like every evening and afternoon, I was in Southwest.
So that was me, but South Rockwood. Yeah, like we came here out for church. We came up for everything, you know, and then we go have dinner at the Rhapsody down the street.
And then when I moved out in my young adult years, like I went back to Southwest. Like so I lived in Southwest in a few different spots for a while. And like it's my community, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's talk about the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, about a month and a half.
In February.
There was a horrible storm and flood.
So it was a water main break.
Yeah. Didn't we have like a snowstorm before?
It froze.
Yeah.
So it got so cold those few days that everything fucking froze.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the streets, I was looking at, like, there was, like, Navy, there was a bunch of streets that were, like, flooded.
Yeah, it was, like, over 200 to 400 homes or, like, families that were affected in that area.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And you put together, as we do whenever there is time and need, we put together a comedy fundraiser, because that's what comedians do.
Tragedies.
But honestly, it is kind of a good thing. I mean, like, unless you're doing... it's great to do a charity, you know, comedy show to lighten up the mood. But like I did one time, and this guy went up. It was for a kid with cancer.
Oh no! What did you do?
He was just like, "Who's the dead kid's mom?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh shit! I should not have vouched for you. Yeah. What are you on right now?" Crazy. Yeah.
I had a few bad jokes written. I only did one though. For that. I was just like, man, like Southwest just, you know, ICE just won't leave them alone.
God.
And I was like, that's it. But that's the last joke. I got 4 more, but I'm only going to say that one.
And then the floodgates opened. Oh my God. I swear, like, my one coworker was like, she was like, do you see what they're doing? Do you see what they're doing? And I was like, yes, they've been doing this. It's terrible.
No, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, yes, it's you should have been very, very objective earlier on, you know? Like, so anyway, like, you lived in Dearborn Heights. What school did you graduate from? High school.
Well, high school, Annapolis.
Yeah. Annapolis, okay.
Go Cougars.
Go Cougars.
Class of 04.
Oh, okay. So you're just a few years younger than me. Okay, yeah. No, you're younger than my brother, even though too. You're not 40 yet.
No, next year. Next year.
It's not. Honestly, 40 was easier than 30 for me. Because 30, I was like, oh man, I'm becoming an adult.
Right. Right.
Like, meanwhile, I'm married already. You know,
that's funny. So. I made that mistake at 30.
Yeah.
I was actually a little older, 32 or so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how'd you get to the comedy thing? Like, how did we get there? I know, and also talk about performing in general. Like, you do dance, you know, how did you get to how'd you get to being a performer, period?
Okay.
Yeah.
So shout out to my mom. She won't ever watch this, but it was my mom. So I do Mexican folk dancing, traditional folk dancing. I've danced over 30 years since I was about like 7. But it's a custom in Mexico to do dances, traditional dances in school. Yeah. So, you know, elementary, middle school, like, it's a custom over there. So my mom grew up doing certain dances in school. Okay. So then when they moved to Detroit, there was actually a group already in Detroit during like the 80s. Okay. And my mom put my brothers to dance. So all 3 of my older brothers dance.
And this is how Menudo started.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And then I grew up watching them dance, and when I was 7, she tried to put me in ballet, but I was like, yeah, it wasn't it. And then she put me in Mexican ballet, and I was like, this is it. And so I've been there since then, dancing my whole life, like, literally. Yeah. And for comedy, I've always been funny, right? Yeah. I was always a kid getting in trouble for cracking jokes. Yeah. Or, you know, she talks too much on her report card.
Oh my God. 2nd grade, Mr. Whitaker. Yeah. God damn it. Yeah. I got in so much trouble. My mom was like, you have to just shut the hell up for, 3 days straight, basically. Yeah.
My 3rd grade teacher was like that. She was racist too. She's dead now.
Shit.
Fuck you, Miss McGurr.
Oh. We throwing out names, government names. This is a Sanctioned by Stephanie exclusive.
It's funny. and for comedy, so I was always into the arts. I did some plays growing up. I did Matrix Theater Company. I don't know if you know Matrix Theater Company.
I've heard of it.
It's on Bagley and 24th St. Anne area. So I grew up doing hood theater. That's what we say. Hood theater. We put on educational hood shows for the kids. And so I grew up doing it, and I was comfortable with it. And it was just always funny. So we would write scripts and like write shows for the theater. And then in 2018 or 19, I have it written in the journal when I started it, and I was like, I could just write jokes. Yeah. And I just started writing stuff about my family, basically a lot about my family. And then in 2019, I was working at a nonprofit, and they had just got like a whole new studio, like a legit studio. Right. And I told her, my homies who was working, I was like, hey, let me hit the studio real quick and like record me. Right. I was like, give me like 10 minutes. I was like, I want to try these jokes out. And him and another friend I could see them through the glass, like doing all these, movements and laughing, and so I wanted to try it. So then I was like, all right, so 2019 happened. I was like, I got some stuff. I'm going to start looking and figure out how to do whatever, like where to go. Yeah. And then COVID happened. Yeah. And so then that put me off for about a year. And then in August 2021 is when I did my first stand up. But it wasn't even at an open mic. It was at a neighborhood music festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 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 It was called Hip Hop Corrido Fest. Shout out to Sombra. It was in his backyard, but he's a big backyard, and a bunch of groups came, and like local rappers, musicians, and I had made the idea that I was gonna do like a backyard show at a friend's house, like to do like my intro or to like my world premiere, right? Of comedy.
We always make a big deal out of it, and
right,
then we're like, "Oh, that wasn't shit."
And so then I had a date, and then when I met that musician, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it on this date," and I was like, "Oh, he's already doing all this."
Right.
Like, I'll just tag along, and I asked him, "Hey, give me like 15 minutes." Okay. And then he did, and then that's when I
You're like, I shot my shot.
Yeah, I did. It was crazy because.
Sorry, that's just me.
Not that it was crazy, but the first day of the first show I did was the day that we buried my grandma.
Oh my God! Wait! So your grandma dies, right?
So my grandma dies a week before the show.
Okay.
And so like I already knew like the funeral was the next day after my show, but like family were in town. Like my grandma was already passed away. R.I.P. Abuelita. And the night before, so it was a Friday night. The night before, I had cousins flying from Monterrey, from Mexico, and got fucked up. Like, fucked up. To the point where, like, I remembered, I was like, oh, I gotta read in Mass tomorrow at 9 a.m. And I was hungover, and I was like, oh. But I thought it was funny because that's why I said at my show, I was like, buried my grandma, and everybody was like, oh my God. I was like, I do it all. I was like, you need me to read at your Mass?
Right.
I can do a lecture, and then I can do comedy. I was like, I was wearing black earlier, being all sad and stuff, and now I was in a white dress talking about sucking dick. R.I.P. my grandma. I do it all.
Shut up. Grandma, Grandma was a real one, and I'm sure she would have been proud of you.
Yeah, no, my abuelita was fun.
Abuelita was like, I want the dick sucking jokes.
You're so funny.
What
she had 7 kids, so shit.
What is, how do you say in Spanish, dick?
So there's various ways, so like
because if I come to your open mic, I'm gonna know like 10 words total from high school.
I'm gonna give you a little list, right? Like verga's one.
Verga. Okay.
Or like pito.
Okay.
And then like other things, chorizo. Right?
Sausage.
Right. So, pene, that's penis, like for sure. And I don't know, I like little jokes, but yeah, verga for sure. But it's not just like dick, it means like fuck, like I don't give a fuck you, because that's one of my favorite swear
words. It can be
words.
like fuck you.
Yeah, if you say like vete a la verga, like go fuck yourself.
Okay.
Or go to the dick.
That's the thing about Spanish that I was like, okay, so you're taking that one word and we're putting 3 together?
Yes.
And it's like, it's kind of confusing for a kid, especially when your Spanish teacher in high school didn't really know Spanish.
Yeah.
And like you found out when you went to college, and your Spanish teacher took you and your 2 friends from Carlton Airport High School and sat you all down and said, who the fuck told you were in AP Spanish?
That's
like,
funny.
What the hell?
That's always my favorite scenario. Like my Spanish teacher in high school was a white lady too.
I got the whitewashed white woman version of Spanish.
But it was funny because her Spanish was actually pretty good, but she was nerdy white lady. Shout out Ms. Senorita Baker. But we were cool, but I would get mad at her because I would wear T-shirts to school in Spanish.
Oh yeah.
That said like a bunch of stupid shit on there, and she would be the only one to yell, and I would tell her all the time, I was like, only you know. I was like, why are you saying anything? I was like, my mom bought me this shirt. She did. My favorite one was in the front. It said, "Que me ves?" In the back it said, "Pendeja." So in the front it says, "What are you looking at? You dumb bitch." And I remember, and she yelled at me from down the hall. I ran into the classroom. I was like, only you.
We have a friend we were just talking about, like, back when we were in high school, like, in the late 90s, the T-shirts were co-ed naked volleyball, like, co-ed naked, and then you had Big Johnson. Big Johnson was a huge T-shirt company. It was nasty. Like, all the guys, it was like a cartoon, and it would be like Big Johnson, big balls, or something. Like, it would always say something like hairy balls was always in the mix with it.
We have the equivalent of Pepito. He's dirty, dirty T-shirts and shit like that.
Yeah. And then the other one that we had was, there was another one. Oh, do you remember the Big Dogs? And they had an outlet and stuff, and it was like, but Big Dog was like, okay, so like Big Johnson and Co-Ed Naked, that's what like the edgy kids wore, right? And that's what the kids who tried and dabbled with marijuana wore. And then the kids who were trying to be cool but also were like basically straight laced and didn't go against what their mom and dad ever said, those children were wearing Big Dogs in high school.
Hey, I remember
Junkos, yes. Oh my god.
I used to wear Dickies and Ben Davises, but when I would bust out my Ben Davises, my mom wouldn't. She was not having that. I was gangster.
Way back in the day, and that the only ones that still are open are Willow Tree and Chelsea, down in Wyandotte on Biddle. But like back in the day, Willow Tree was at every mall. That was the store you would go to, or rave. You would go to DJ's or merry-go-round.
Do you remember merry-go-round? I didn't know Willow Tree was in the mall.
Yeah, Willow Tree was in the mall. They were like a chain, and I don't know why this one's still open. It's like so weird. And Chelsea too. Chelsea was the same thing. Like there was one in the Lincoln Park Mall. There was the one they just tore down. What are they putting there, by the way? I'm like, Jesus.
Where Sears was?
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to plant some fucking trees.
I want a fucking Menards there. Just because we need another one. Actually, you know what? They should put an IKEA there.
Menards didn't hire me. Fuck you, Menards.
Fuck you, Menards. Yeah, Downriver needs an IKEA. I bet you we would tear up an IKEA.
I heard that they were supposedly saying they wanted to rebuild Gibraltar. I was like, that would be a dream, but
that would be so.
That'd be great. Gibraltar days.
I love Gibraltar Trade Center, and my thing with Gibraltar Trade Center, and tell me if you knew about this. My thing was, I would go the weekend before a movie was released, like a DVD, and it was always Family Guy, and they would sell it to me early, and that's why I loved Gibraltar Trade Center. Gibraltar Trade Center, it was the one place that you could go get a fucking corn dog, right? And then buy a goddamn quinceañera or baptism dress.
With the lizard.
Dude, there were like 3. And it was, you could get
all my
an exotic bird.
I got all my ear piercings at Gibraltar until I was 11. I was on number 4, and then my mom didn't let me give me it anymore.
I just remember there was like, we went for my first communion dress, right? And we had went to
from there too.
We went to like a ton of like, my grandma was like a Hudson's lady, and she was like, let's go to Hudson's and look.
Go to the Mexican stores.
And we were there, and my grandma was like, oh, let's see if it's on sale. Nothing was on sale. So then we went to like 4 other like department stores at the time, and we had lunch at what the hell was it called? Charlie's something. It was a steakhouse or whatever. We had lunch together, and then my grandma was like, all right, I don't know. My friend told me, but I'm pretty sure this is not going to be what you want to wear. And she's like, my friend told me to go here. And so we went in, and she's like, this is a dirt mall.
Yeah.
This is and I was like, I like the dirt mall.
It was my favorite place. We went there a lot because they had the Chicano t-shirts. They had a Chicano store, a gangster store there.
Oh, no, I know. And also the other thing that my family like went nuts for, when people would die, and I know that Mexican people love this too, and Southwest people. This is a Southwest thing, because this is my Southwest cousin. You get the dog tags with their image on it.
Oh, I have a dog tag. My niece isn't dead, but it's us when we were little.
No, but I'm saying the dog tag with either somebody dead or like somebody you love on this.
I took my Air Force Ones again. Got them airbrushed there too.
Airbrushing. Yeah, they had all kinds of stuff. I mean, I used to love it, but
Gibraltar Tree.
We ended up going, and there's like, it was funny because my grandma, we go to the first store because there was multiple quinceañera and communion dress stores there. And we go to the first store, and she's like, oh, this is overwhelming. She's just like, there's just too many dresses.
So much glam.
We can't do this. And I'm like, I like whatever, like I was just one of those girls that was like, I don't want to wear a dress, but you can see my skin knees if I wear it. So we ended up getting it at the second one we went to, but it was the same as the first one. They were all the same fucking dress.
Right.
It was just hilarious. But
they were just $10 or $5 different.
I just remember that my mom was, my grandma bought it, and at the end of the night, my mom was like, so that was like the cheapest dress, but it's kind of the coolest. And I was like, yeah, it is. It was so much, like, it was so much, but then my mom was like, so dirt mall ain't that bad, right? And I'm like, that was the first time I ever heard dirt mall. Yeah.
In Spanish, we call it pulgan. And it's a flea market. What's the flea market?
Yeah, it's a flea market. Flea market. And I just loved it. I loved it too. And it was funny. My grandma or my aunt, and she lived in LA, and she would call it the swap meet. And it was the dirt mall. Right. Yeah, it was the same thing. So swap meet. Anyway, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back with the Unsanctioned 7 and more Ophelia. It's 4:20 when we're recording this, so we will be back.
It was just right.
If our eyes aren't open, if I look like I'm Asian, that's why. All right, we'll be back. Bye.